Hi, welcome back. In this video, we're going to do an example. We're going to find the derivative of the function y equals x plus 2 times square root of x times e to the x. And we're going to use a couple of different differentiation formulas from the table just above. Now, all the derivatives in this table are just the formulas that we've learned in the first two sections of Chapter 3. We'll be learning a lot more after this, but this is our toolbox so far. So we're going to need to use several different formulas in this table. Notice that the function that we're differentiating is a product of two functions. It's a product of x plus 2 times square root of x and e to the x. So we're definitely going to need the product rule. The product rule says when you differentiate the product of two functions, it's not quite as simple as just multiplying the two derivatives, f prime times g prime. Notice that it's a sum of two products, and each of the products contains a derivative. So it's f times g prime plus g times f prime. Another formula that we're going to use is the derivative of the natural exponential function e to the x. That's the easiest one we'll have all semester, and it's really easy to remember. The derivative of e to the x is just e to the x. Another one we're going to use is the power rule. The derivative of x to the power n is just n times x to the n minus 1. You bring down the exponent, you reduce the power by 1. Another one we're going to have to use here is the sum rule. The derivative of a sum is just the sum of the two derivatives. And that's kind of an obvious result of limit laws, right? The limit of a sum is the sum of two limits as long as those two limits exist. And remember, these derivatives are always limits. And there's one more formula I think is worth adding to this list. It's not in this table, but it comes up so often, we might as well derive the formula and then just add it to our toolbox. And that is the derivative of the square root function. It comes up often enough that we'll want to memorize it and have it handy. So to get this formula, we first rewrite the square root of x as x to the 1/2. And here's where we use the power rule. If we use the power rule, the derivative of x to the 1/2 is 1/2 times x to the 1/2 minus 1, and that's just negative 1/2. And now let's rewrite this in terms of a radical because it was originally a radical function, so let's write the derivative as a radical function. So we can rewrite it as 1 over 2 times the square root of x. So that's an additional formula. The derivative of the square root of x is equal to 1 over 2 times square root of x. And I believe that one is worth memorizing because it'll come up a lot. All right, so let's get started on this derivative. So we're differentiating a product, x plus 2 times square root of x times e to the x. So let's use the product rule to start. So y prime is going to be the first function, x plus 2 times the square root of x, times the derivative of the second function, the derivative of e to the x, plus the second function, e to the x, times the derivative of the first function, x plus 2 times square root of x. So we haven't actually differentiated anything yet, so let's go ahead and do that. So we've got x plus 2 times the square root of x times the derivative of e to the x, which is just e to the x, plus e to the x times the derivative of x plus 2 times the square root of x. So here, remember, the derivative of x is just 1, and the derivative of a constant multiple of a function is the constant times the derivative of the function, so it's going to be 2 times 1 over 2 times square root of x. Now, normally this would be fine. This is the derivative. It's not simplified. But unfortunately, when you submit your answers in WebAssign, they're going to have to be simplified. And it's worth simplifying because it's good practice. When we get to later sections where we're solving equations using derivatives, we're going to need to simplify. So right now, we might as well do it so we get a lot of algebra practice. So let's simplify this. Every single term is being multiplied by an e to the x. So we've got an e to the x times 1 plus an e to the x times x plus an e to the x times 2 square root of x. And then we've got an e to the x times 1 over the square root of x. And now I can just factor out the e to the x and write this as e to the x times 1 plus x plus 2 square root of x plus 1 over square root of x. And that should be simplified enough. All right, that's an example of using a bunch of different formulas in one differentiation problem. And we're going to do a few more of those. So I'll see you in the next video.